Welcome to the High Yield Real Estate Investing Podcast, a podcast focusing on multifamily investing in short, easy to digest 5-minute segments.
Hey guys, for this episode we'll be changing gears and doing a phone interview with Dan Kostopolus. I know Dan through the beach volleyball scene here in San Diego. Aside from being an all-around great guy and volleyball player, Dan's been involved in real estate for a while now. He got started owning a few properties, then moved into the passive investing and capital raising realm. Let's listen to the interview. Hey, Dan, welcome to the show. Thanks for being on here.
Hey, yeah, no worries. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today.
Awesome. Well, let's get started. Why don't you tell us what you do for a day job?
Yes, I'm a project manager for a aerospace defense contractor in San Diego.
And how did you get started with real estate?
I can date my start to real estate going back to 2008 when I purchased my first condo. It was a good time in the market, right time for us to buy, and I looked at what the previous owner had bought the condo for about a year or two prior, and I realized I was getting about 50% discount. Jumped into it, didn't have a clue what I was doing, lived in the house for years and did what's commonly referred to as a house hack, redid the kitchen, all the flooring. It was a life lesson and a great learning experience. Later rented it out as a long-term rental, and that's how I got my start.
Cool. Did you buy any properties after that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I the ability to, access a VA loan since I was in the military. So the VA loan has to be owner occupied though. So I did buy a primary house with that and was able to kind of snowball my portfolio as the market kept rising up and kind of pulling equity out and continuing to purchase additional properties throughout the years.
Very nice. And what are you looking to accomplish with all this real estate?
So first and foremost, for me, it's financial freedom. That's why I'm doing it. I want to be able to, free my time up and do as I please and work on things that truly inspire me and motivate me and be able to find better creation and value and financial freedom. And then I also think that real estate is an absolute one of the best vehicles for legacy wealth as well. So I like the aspect of, having legacy wealth and being able to pass that on to family, friends, or charity when I get old.
You and I align on pretty much every single one of those aspects as well.
There's a lot of good reasons for real estate and what it can do for people.
Now, as I understand, you did switch to doing some larger multifamily deals, but mostly on the passive investing and the capital raising side.
Yeah, that's correct. I started kind of building a small portfolio, switched over to multifamily just because, one of the main reasons was economies of scale. I started kind of having properties scattered all over the place in different states, working with different property managers and different property manager statements. Started scratching my head saying there's got to be a better way. And that's what kind of led me down the path of multifamily and the syndication route. Economies of scale when it comes to purchasing large apartment buildings is incredible with things like on-site management and on-site maintenance and leasing and all that is concentrated. There's a lot of value to that. And I also switched over to multifamily and passive investing just because of the valuation method. Single family and 4 units or less is valued based on comparables, and multifamily syndication, 5 units or more, will be valued like a business. So I think that's going to become more and more valuable, especially when we have a downturn at some point. As long as income's still coming in, the valuation should hold fairly well.
Yeah, sounds good, man. You hit up a lot of good points there that seem to be fairly common throughout the industry. People start with, a single family home or two and move their way up and realize that multifamily really has a lot of advantages because you can own a lot of units and you only have to close one loan.
Yep, exactly.
When you're looking for a passive deal, what kind of things are you looking for there?
So when I look for a passive deal, I think one of the most important things is, especially in a real estate syndication where there's a team involved, is the sponsor. Who's the sponsor of that deal? What's their track record? What have they done in the past? What kind of deals have they closed? I think that's extremely important. You're putting a lot of faith into them that they're going to execute on the business plan. That's one thing I really look for in the deal is not so much the deal, but the people sponsoring that deal. And then obviously after that, I look at location as well. I like to stay in larger cities, preferably cities that are experiencing good growth, and then the areas as well. So there's a lot I can go into right there, but really I think it comes down to the team and location are two of the biggest things I look for in a passive investment deal.
Makes a whole lot of sense. You want to know who's in charge of your money. What kind of passive deals have you been involved with so far?
In the apartment arena, I've been involved in a 40-unit and 122-unit deal, and those are usually B and C class properties.
What have you learned about capital raising and passive investing route along the way that you wished you would have known at the start?
What I've learned that I wish I would have known from the start is it's a lot harder than it seems. It takes time. It's a grind. It's a slow grind. It's something that kind of funnels and starts to snowball as far as investor relations, capital raising, that aspect to it. If someone would have told me, look, start off by building your brand a little bit earlier and kind of getting your name out there and relationships, I think that would have been helpful. I wish I would have known that a little bit earlier.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good point. And understand you started a meetup. How long ago did you start that and why?
Yes, I started the meetup in August 2018 or so. I started that really for, investor relations. Real estate is it's a people business, and so relationships are huge. Having a meetup and going to other people's meetups as well is one of the best ways to get out there, shake hands, meet people, and pass business cards around and try to find synergies. So I started the meetup for that purpose. Very
nice. And you meet at a local craft brewery here, so it's beer and real estate, right?
It's beer and real estate, yep. I don't have any agenda. I don't have any speakers. It's all about shaking hands, having a beer with fellow investors, and just getting to know each other. So it's really great.
Very nice. You started owning your first piece of property back in 2008 and have been probably having them rented out for about a decade now. So what's the craziest or weirdest thing a tenant's done in one of your properties so far?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of horror stories. Fortunately for me, by design, try to shelter myself as much as possible from the property management aspect. But with that being said, I do manage one property myself because it is close to where I reside. With that property, probably the craziest thing, and it's not that crazy, but my tenant called me up, said that she had locked herself out of the house while she had dinner on the stove cooking. And I wasn't able to get to the property to unlock the door for her. I was out of town. So obviously time is of the essence there when food's cooking and no one's in the house. So they ended up calling the fire department, and in the fire department was able to gain access into the house before the house burned down. So that's probably the craziest thing that I've had to deal with.
Oh, man. That's still a really good story. Anyway, how can people get in touch with you?
If anyone's interested in multifamily syndications, especially in the state of Texas, you can send an email to Dan at aquarealtyinvestments.com. And I also am a broker for hard money loans. So if anyone is looking for hard money, non-owner occupied investment loans, you can send an email to Dan at innercorecapital.com.
Awesome, Dan. Well, thanks for your time and thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Alrighty, so that wraps up the first interview for this podcast. Dan's got a great story that's pretty typical of a lot of people. Started out in the single family realm, learned about multifamily, thought that was a better fit for him and his money, and then eventually decided he wanted to be a passive investor instead of an operator himself. All right, well, that wraps it up for today.